The Detroit Tigers win their fourth consecutive baseball game. Let's talk about it and more all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Thursday, September 12th, 2024. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Welcome in, welcome all. Happy Thursday, everybody. The Detroit Tigers win again, baby. 7-4 victory over the Colorado Rockies. They have now won 5 of their last 6. They've won 4 consecutive, and they are 75-71 on the season. That is good enough for, drumroll please, 3 games back. Unfortunately, the Minnesota Twins took care of business and beat the Angels, so the Tigers' gap there remains at 3 games, but you didn't lose ground. And as we talked about yesterday, man, like, you can control what you can control at the end of the day, right? There's nothing the Detroit Tigers can do right now to affect who the Twins are playing. They are not playing the Twins. And so at the end of the day, you just got to go out there and keep taking care of business. You have to keep beating up on a bad team. If you were to lose to the Rockies, everyone would be, freaking out, and it would be this catastrophic failure. And oh my goodness, how disappointing, whatever. And it's not. And you're keeping pace because you're playing a bad baseball team at home, and you're doing what you should do against a bad baseball team at home. And that is fantastic. So good on the Tigers. Again, 4 straight wins in what is very quickly become the most important part of the season. Something I didn't expect to say about a month and a half or a month ago about the middle of September here, but here we are and could not be happier about it. Let's start with what went right in this, again, 7-4 win. This is going to shock you. The first inning, right? The Tigers win 7-4. They scored 6 in the first. Riley Greene with a home run. He pulled the home run was ridiculous. Like it was almost superhuman. He pulled a changeup that was low and away, not in the strike zone. That was a ball low and outside, a ball outside, mind you. And he's out in front of it, pretty comfortably, actually, out in front of it. Flicks the wrists, goes out there, reaches for it, finds the barrel, and pulls it for a home run in Comerica Park to start off the scoring. Fantastic start to the ball game, and then the Tigers just piled on. Kerry Carpenter had an unbelievable night. If I was, somebody who gave out like player of the games or anything like that, Kerry Carpenter would certainly be the player of the game. He goes 4 for 4 with an RBI and a run scored in this one. He was also a home run away from the cycle. He just missed. I say just missed. I don't think he was super close to hitting a homer all night, but just missed out on the homer. Started off the game with a triple, RBI triple, and then obviously scored on that as well. His season numbers, he's now hitting .293 with a whopping .946 OPS. That is remarkable. He is, man, this is something we're going to talk about a lot in the offseason, and we'll talk about as we get closer and closer to the start of next season as well. But we're trying to focus on where our feet are. This is the most fun September in a long time. We're obviously putting all of our energy and attention into 2024. But like when I think of the future of what Kerry Carpenter could be for this team, like we know that he can be a middle of the lineup bat for this team long term. The only hiccup in that plan is just, we still aren't super sure, if they were to just let him play 162 games and never pinch hit him, how he would do over a full season against lefties. Like that really is that really is it. Like that really is the only question mark, because he's answered all the other ones, right? When he first got called up, it was, oh, he's kind of only a fastball hitter, and he's not really hitting any breaking balls. Okay, then he started crushing breaking balls. Then he couldn't hit changeups. Then he started crushing changeups. And it was, it's, a short sample size. Let's see if he can do it consistently over a long period of time. And then he started doing that. And then it was, oh, he's not drawing walks. And then he did that a little bit more. Then he cut down the strikeouts. And like every single time I have come on this show in the 3.5 years now I've been doing this, and have pointed out a flaw in Kerry. He couldn't play defense, right? Pointed out a flaw in Kerry Carpenter's game. He has within months adjusted and fixed, quote unquote, said issue. It's unbelievably impressive, and not that he cares what I have to say. I'm not saying that that's a direct correlation. I'm saying that the flaws that he did have, the organization sat down, and I promise I don't think Kerry Carpenter cares about what I think. The organization pointed out, what his flaws were in the batter's box and on the baseball field, and he was consistently addressing those. And that's the sign of a darn good ball player, man. I'm continue to be so impressed with him, so happy that he's on this baseball team, and what a great night. The only thing we got to figure out is he a platoon hitter long term, or is he an 162 game player? And that's still somewhat of a toss-up right now. His numbers against lefties this year, pretty brutal. Focusing on what went right, continued again in this ball game. Torkelson had a nice hit in the first inning. Want to point that out. And then obviously the big exclamation point in that first inning was the Trey Sweeney bomb to right field. Absolute nuke. He is now hitting 242 with a 756 OPS. That home run was off of a hanging slider. That it was a full count. Like that was a good at bat. He worked the count, fouled the one ball off, I think maybe two, and then got just an absolute hanger down the middle, and I guess a little bit up in the zone, and just turned and burned on it. So good for him. Good to stay hot. Again, 3 RBIs in this ball game. It was a 3-run homer. Was his only hit on the night. Did have a strikeout still. The swing and miss and the strikeout stuff is still really high. I don't think that's ever going to be super low. I think just inherently with his game and with how loopy his swing is. Man, it is a long loopy swing. But when he gets around on a ball, it is smoked. And so I think that the swing and miss and the strikeout stuff is probably all going to be there. But right now, the OPS is over league average. Now, that is a significantly smaller sample size than, a qualified hitter. So we have to take that with somewhat of a grain of salt. I'm not sure if the OPS would be around 750 over a full season. I have my reservations about whether he'd pull that off, but he is showing enough to say, hey, when you have that shortstop conversation this winter, why don't you throw my name in that ring? And that's really all we were asking for from him when he got called up here in the final month of the season, to just make a case to be make a case for anyone other than Javi Baez to be the shortstop next year. and I think he certainly is, at least at a minimum, putting that in the back of your head. Even if you still have your doubts, you're at least like, all right, well, he's stay hot, kid. Okay, got a few more players on the side of things that went right. Got some bullpen, relievers to talk about. Bullpen was phenomenal in this ball game. Then we'll talk about what went wrong and plenty of stuff to get to as well. We will do all of that right after this. Got to talk to you all today about our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports because, unlike other apps, on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and then you watch the winnings roll in. One Caleb Williams passing yard can get you 1 win on Prize Picks in the month of September. That's right, only 1 yard from Caleb Williams passing gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. That's 4 weeks of free W's, even though, week 1, this is still, we got the Lions banner back there. could have looked a little bit better. 1 yard. He was almost didn't hit it. I'm kidding. Okay. It's a joke. Obviously, that's a free win. Prize Picks also, you can now win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. So many great offers. As we said at the beginning of the show, you can also turn $50 or get $50 rather when you play just 5 using code LOCKEDONMLB. Get the app today. Prize Picks, get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2, Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, as always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We will, of course, be back tomorrow recapping this Rockies series and previewing what is set up to be a massive weekend at Comerica Park against the Baltimore Orioles. It'll be a fun show tomorrow. After you make us your first listen, make Locked On MLB your second listen. Host Paul Francis Sullivan, a.k.a. Sully, is here to provide daily national expertise using his trademark humor to help you get ready for those playoffs that are just around the corner. Again, Locked On MLB on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So talking about what went right in this ballgame, we just talked about Trey Sweeney. I also want to give him credit. I really was hard on him for his defense early. And while I don't think that he's ever going to be some elite, like Gold Glove caliber, like some huge plus defender, I think that he has shown that he can be a serviceable shortstop at the major league level, which, again, I kind of called him out for when he first got called up. So credit where credit is due there. Wanted to make sure I snuck that in and always aware of what I say on here and also what improvements and such players make. So I want to give him his credit there. Jake Rogers had a pretty decent day at the office as well. Made a couple of really nice defensive plays. That one foul tip play was unbelievable. I love. It's one of my favorite plays in sports is the foul tips that bounce up and the catchers have to dive out and get them. Those are always kind of electric to me. Me and my catcher brain. But had a couple of knocks in this ball game as well, which is always good to see. Imagine, I know vibes are high. I'm not trying to bring the mood down or anything, but imagine what this offense would look like if Jake Rogers hit like he did last year. Right now, he's hitting 193 with a 611 OPS. That is brutal. That is absolutely brutal. And I just imagine if we had that, the average is not going to get too much better. 210, 215 hitter, but with 20 home run power. And honestly, if you prorate it, right, if you played 162 games, which no catcher will in today's day and age of baseball, but if you prorate it, that's he was on dang near a 30 home run pace last year. And just imagine if we had, I think he ended with a 710 or 720 OPS last season as well. Just kind of totally changes the dynamic of this lineup. A little bit more of a power threat in there as well. So kind of unfortunate that he's had the year he's had at the plate. I think there'll be a lot of questions about the catcher position this winter, but that's a lot of big picture stuff. I get ahead of myself sometimes. Focusing on today, 2 hits. We will gladly take it. And then Matt Vierling got on base, a couple of times, walking a hit. Jace Young, Parker Meadows doing Parker Meadows things. All around, just a really good offensive performance. 7 runs we will gladly take. And then the bullpen, I thought was stellar, right? The offense is going to get a ton of love. And we'll talk about Casey Mize here in a second. But I thought the bullpen was really kind of the overlooked hero of this ball game. This ended as a 3-run game. I know we got off to the 6-0 lead after the first inning and kind of punched him in the mouth early. This was a 1-swing game there for a while. They didn't just score garbage time runs in the 9th. For the entire second half of the ball game, this was a 3-run game. This was not nothing. And the bullpen just threw zeros. You had Will Vest, Jason Foley, Tyler Holton, not even close to that order, but those 3 all pitched out of the pen and only allowed 2 total base runners between the 3 of them in 4 innings. And the coolest part about looking at the box score after this game is realizing that all 3 of them have ERAs under 3. All 3 of those guys' ERAs start with the number 2. And that is absolutely incredible. Obviously, Will Vest has his inherited runners issue, right? He's allowed more inherited runners than almost anybody in the entire sport. So, that ERA is lower because he hasn't given up his runs, but he's given up other pitchers' runs. I understand all that, but just having some guys in the back end of your pen that have some sub-3 ERAs and can throw some heat there is really, really nice to have. Because as we all know, especially my generation of Tigers fans, a bullpen can lose you an awful lot. So nice to see there. Nice to see this bounce back from the bullpen too. I've mentioned this a few times over the last week or so, but the bullpen got off to such a good start and then was so bad in those middle months, and then has really turned it around and been stellar again. So credit where credit is due there as well. What went wrong in this ball game? Only have two really key points in this part. I think the Tigers were pretty clearly the better team throughout this entire ball game, despite, again, the final score getting a little bit closer there at the end. For the sake of the segment, we're going to put Casey Mize in here. 4 2/3 innings, 6 hits, 4 earned runs, 0 wins, and 7 0 wins. 0 walks, rather, and 7 strikeouts. This was a weird performance for me to analyze and kind of go over, because I think that Mize offered some stuff that was genuinely some of the best we've seen from him in a while, but the box score was ugly. The efficiency was not very good, but he also didn't walk anybody, right? It's weird to be inefficient, but also not walk anyone. That's a really, really interesting line to walk. And he towed it. He really did. And then there's one pitch in particular we'll get to in a second that I thought was pretty brutal. But if we're starting with the positives, the splitter, I genuinely thought was some of the best I've ever seen his splitter look. And that's reassuring. That's nice to know that that's still in there. And it's nice to know that the building block, we'll call it, going into 2025, or when they're making his program, his throwing program for the winter, that they at least have somewhat of an understanding of, okay, at his best, this can still be a plus pitch at the major league level. He got a lot of swings and misses on it. I think he had an over 50% whiff rate on it in this ball game. He hung one, and it was still a flyout. So I really liked what he saw from there. Obviously gave up the home run in this ball game as well. But I really liked what I saw from the splitter in this ball game, and the fastball I thought was decent. And we've talked a lot about his fastball. Oh my goodness, I feel almost bad bringing it up, because I feel like from a listener perspective, most, especially if you're an everydayer, you're probably like, oh my goodness, can we stop talking about this dude's fastball? I totally get it. I kind of don't want to anymore either, but we have to. I thought it looked decent. And I thought that the reason why it looked decent was more of command than anything involving stuff. And I cannot stress this point enough. His fastball, you could copy and paste from start to start. And on the days where his splitter is good, the fastball will be better, right? So I think that honestly had a lot to do with it, right? More so than anything, like the fastball didn't look any different. It's just significantly more effective when you have a great to elite splitter paired with it, right? Ask Joe Ryan how that works out for him, right? Like ask so many of those, fastball splitter pitchers. Joe Ryan throws 92, man. Well, his velocity's gone up a little bit this year, but like historically, throws 92, 93. But he's really good because he pairs it with a splitter. So I think that was probably the biggest reason for that. The thing I didn't like in this ballgame from Mize was the slider. I don't know how to say it like kindly. Like my thoughts on his slider were very, very low in this ballgame. And like worse than normal. I've been complaining about his slider for a long time. And when he went on the rehab assignment, it was, the slider looks a lot better. No, it doesn't, dude. Not if it looked like that. Unless he comes out as an next outing and it looks fantastic and everybody goes, oh, that's what we saw in Toledo, then I'll happily eat crow on it, right? I would love Casey Mize to have 3 good pitches, okay? Very much in the best interest of me and all of you, I'm sure. But in this ballgame, it just wasn't a very effective pitch. It did not look very good. It was incredibly flat. And I honestly, like, after the third inning, I think they're, in the fourth and fifth inning, I was just asking him to just not even throw it. That's to the point I got with it in this one. So again, kind of a weird grab bag of an outing where, like, I don't even like putting him in what went wrong, because I did like a lot of what I saw. But at the end of the day, the final line just wasn't very good. And for the sake of having a what went wrong segment, we're going to put him there. But to have a positive spin on it, right? This was the first time in a while where I actually saw flashes of a really good pitcher in there. It just was wildly inconsistent, and he wasn't able to even go 5 innings ultimately. And at the end of the outing, obviously, is where it kind of really got away from him. This game shouldn't have been as close as it was. We talked about Casey Mize and kind of his role in that, but this was also an offense that left a lot of opportunities on the table, right? Mize gave up 4 runs. Sure, you scored 6 in the first and then didn't score the rest of the game. We'll talk about the offensive struggles after the first inning right after this. Got to talk to you today about our friends over at Tonal. Even the most dedicated gym goers struggle with consistency sometimes. The commute, waiting for weights, other people's sweat, it makes skipping a workout incredibly tempting. With Tonal, you can choose from thousands of workouts and train in a way to help you actually enjoy it, which is at home. Tonal is the world's smartest and most effective strength training system that helps you get stronger. It's powered by AI, and it learns every rep you do so you can deliver workouts personalized just for you. Tonal learns from your movement and provides suggested weight recommendations with every single move you make, with detailed progress reports. They even create personalized program and workout suggestions or recommendations based on your individual goals. Unlike traditional gym equipment, Tonal uses adaptive digital weight to advance your training techniques. From professional athletes to the mom of 3, Tonal is trusted by thousands who have become their strongest. Right now, Tonal is offering listeners $200 off of your Tonal purchase with promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Tonal.com and use promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $200 off of your purchase. That's Tonal.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB, all one word, for $200 off. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Third and final segment, Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. So, like I said, you started off 6-0, and like, if I laid this out to you post game and you didn't watch this ball game, and I said, look, the Tigers are going to start off 6-0 after the first inning, and the bullpen isn't going to allow a single run, and I asked you what the final score of that ball game was, would you have said a 3-run game? And then I also say it's the Rockies away from Coors. Would you have guessed that only would have been a 3-run ball game, especially also on top of what you saw the night before in game 1 of the series? Probably not. I didn't really appreciate the let the foot off the gas pedal approach there. And like, look, at the end of the day, ultimately a win is a win. So I'm not like upset or angry about this. I'm not red in the face, like pissed off about it. But to win 7-4 with a 6-run first inning isn't the greatest look in the world. And the reason why is because they went 2 for 14 with runners in scoring position in the ballgame. 2 for 14. That's remarkable. That is remarkably poor. Again, especially considering you did score 6 runs in an inning. And you scored in another inning. Like, it's not, again, 7 runs. It's a very good day at the office. 2 for 14 with RISP. You had 14 hits, 15 base runners with the Matt Vierling walk in there. And like, again, very admittedly, this is me being way overly critical. But consistent offense is needed for sustainable offense, right? That those go hand in hand. You're not going to have a sustainable offensive product just scoring all your runs in one inning. So this is really like the overly, analysis side of my brain that's being very nitpicky. I understand that. The fan side doesn't care. The fan side of my brain could not care less about anything that I just said. They don't ask how, they ask how many at the end of the day, baby, right? Keep finding ways to win. That is truly all that matters to me at the end of the day, and that's what they did. Also want to point out before we get into stuff, the Rockies stink. man, this team blows. And like, I like a lot of these players, right? Who doesn't love Charlie Blackmon? I mean, Ryan McMahon is one of my favorite third basemen to watch. Just solid hitter, really, really good defenseman over there as well. Also, like their first baseman, Tuglia, but it is just so impossible for them to find any remotely good pitching. It's tough, man. Really liked Nolan Jones when he was a prospect. He hasn't really worked out so far. I mean, goodness, man. Like, do you guys remember when it went Tulowitzki to Story, and then when Story left, it was okay. Brendan Rodgers is going to take over and be great. Brendan Rodgers has been like an average hitter at best most years. I don't know. Just really, really tough. I really feel for Rockies fans. I think baseball is more fun when the Rockies are good. Just a beautiful park. And really, always some weird stuff happens when they play games there. Always, the purple vest. Everybody that roots for the Rockies when they're in the postseason just kind of sucks to see them this bad. But I'm going to hope they're this bad for at least one more game here in 2024. Let's get to stuff. AJ, I want to point out, AJ Hinch did say that pulling Jace Young was for defensive purposes, not because of injury. So we'll see. He did, hit a foul ball off his leg. So we'll see what the update is there on Thursday. But it sounds like everything's okay, and that he just pulled him for a cry there for defense. Jace Young, not a great defender, does not have a very good arm. So wanted to make sure. Again, 3-run ball game. Was not as big of a gap as I think maybe some people watching thought. Also, really cool thing that I want to point out, Kirk Gibson is giving away 100 tickets to kids for Thursday's day game. 100 tickets is first come, first serve for the kids. And, he mentioned, they asked him, their school, and I'm not sure he had a great rebuttal for that. It's call window 16. So if for some reason you want to take the family to the ball game or whatever, it sounds like some kids are going to get some free tickets tomorrow, courtesy of Kirk Gibson, which is always cool. Okay, let's end the show with this. The Detroit Tigers are 3 games out of a wild card. The Twins did hold on to a game. Get a little bit dicey there in the 9th, but the Angels are not very good. The Red Sox, huge walk-off ton. Tyler O'Neill, huge walk-off homer over the monster to stay 1 game back of Detroit. Seattle is playing right now as I'm recording this, so I'm not sure what their final is going to be. And the Royals did, in fact, lose to the New York Yankees. Currently the Mariners are up 3-0 in the 6th, and I believe in jinxes. There is a historical event happening through 6 innings. So like the rarer of the historical events too. So, looking like the Mariners are going to win too. We'll see what happens there. Goodness gracious. What a wild update to get in the middle of recording. The Twins do not play on Thursday. Okay, so, and then they play the Reds this weekend. So we're all huge Reds fans. The Reds are much better than the Angels, even though they're not in the playoff picture this year. You have Tarik Skubal going for a sweep away from Coors against the Rockies. There is zero excuse to lose this baseball game. And if you do win it, you will be 2.5 games out of the wild card. I can't even believe I just said that sentence. You will be 2.5 games. I'm grinning ear to ear out of the postseason going into this Friday home series against the Baltimore Orioles. Going to be absolutely awesome. Tarik Skubal against Ryan Feltner, going for the sweep. And having Skubal on the mound, earlier in the season, I was like, having Skubal on the mound in the first and third game of a series is just like such a cheat code, right? Because you can start off with a win or guaranteed, not a sweep or take 2 of 3. Pitching him in game 3 is my favorite, but really like any game. Okay, you lose game 1, great. Now you can just get a win in game 2 and then go for the series win in game 3. Like, it doesn't matter. Just him in general, he is a cheat code. Orioles this weekend. Your series after this one are Baltimore, Kansas City, Baltimore, Tampa Bay. You want to find out how good you are? We're about to, baby. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We will, of course, be back tomorrow recapping this series finale against the Rockies, hopefully ending in a win. 2.5 games back on the table. We'll preview the weekend tomorrow. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch y'all then, baby. Go Tigers.